Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, Chief Content Producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, if you're listening to this, please give us a 5-star rating on on this episode, a 5-star rating, and the podcast a 5-star rating, and please subscribe. That'd be fantastic. I'm very excited to welcome this recording artist as my guest today. As of this recording, she's a Spotify verified artist with over 28,900 monthly listeners. And as of this recording, she also has 5.5 thousand Instagram followers and 5.6 thousand TikTok followers. So please help me welcome Annabel Gutherz to the podcast.
Woo! Jacob, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
I'm very excited to have you here as my guest. So let's get this started, Annabel.
Let's get it started. Let's dive in.
Awesome. So let's dive into this first question. So when did you begin and get interested in music? And how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
That's such a great question, Jacob. Well, my mom always attests that I could sing before I could talk. And while there's no proof of that, I can say I definitely did have a proclivity and this magnetic draw to the stage when I was really young. I would say I was 5 years old, and my mom and sister took part in a local theater production of Jacob and the Joseph. My God, I was like talking to Jacob, Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I was just enamored by the entirety of the production. I was there in the audience with my dad, and I can definitely say with confidence, I was the most excited audience member. And I was just enamored by the entirety of the production. I love the costume, the lights, the script, and of course the music. And from then on, I became a part of different productions, musical theater productions, and that just really grew. So that was really my foray into the arts and into music. And eventually I just started to write songs of my own. And that's when I was like, I think I want to pursue this professionally, because that's where I really found, I feel like, my niche in such a big creative field of music.
Awesome. You're not alone for saying that. Some of the guests that I've had over the past couple episodes have said that they can sing before they can talk.
Well, again, that is what my mom says. Now, I don't have any proof of this, but I'm inclined to believe her. She is so trustworthy and remarkable. So it's very possible I could sing before I could talk, or at least hum.
Absolutely. That's incredible. So anyway, let's talk about some of your role models in the music industry. So who are they and how did they influence your sound?
That's another remarkable question. I've had so many different musical influences over the year, and I really have eclectic taste when it comes to music. I would say one of my biggest musical influences would be Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. Just their sound, the soundscapes that they create, the lyricism, everything about their music absolutely love, and I've listened to over the course of my life. So they're definitely up there in terms of my musical influences. I also love, Alicia Keys, Harry Styles, David Bowie. Just truly, I just love so many different kinds of music. And I would say now part of my major musical influences is actually musical theater, which I grew up listening to. And it wasn't so much heard, I would say, in my debut album. I really focused on the more acoustical, sounds, and pulled from that sonic palette. But now I feel, having studied at Berklee College of Music and earned my bachelor's degree there, I could be much more intentional with the influences I'm pulling from. And so now I would say I'm definitely drawing a lot of inspiration from musical theater show tunes, especially I love the theatrics of it. I'm a little bit of a dramatic person. My dad's nickname for me is Drama Bell. And so I'm shamelessly dramatic. And that is part of what I love, I think, about musical theater, is that they just really honor the dimensionality of emotions in their songs. And it could be as big or as little as you want it to be. And I think that's something that I'm really starting to employ in my music too. So I'm definitely drawing a lot of influence from a plethora of different artists.
Awesome. And I love musical theater too. So I did musical theater from fifth grade all the way to 12th grade in high school.
Now we're talking, Jacob. Do you have a favorite show?
I gotta say, if it's going to be based on a screenplay or something like that, I would have to say Lion King. If
Oh,
it's co-
we love The Lion King. That's like, I mean, it's a staple and such a classic.
Yeah, there are some amazing. I gotta say, I saw on Broadway back in when it was still in a New Amsterdam theater, and it's still one of the greatest Broadway shows I've ever seen. I gotta say, I saw Phantom of the Opera in Her Majesty's Theater when I was in London.
Wow. I've never seen Phantom of the Opera, but I can say my friend, she's a remarkable ice dancer. Her name is Lila Fear, and she just did a program to The Lion King. If you want to check that out, it's so interesting, all the different ways the music can be used and adapted for different mediums and different art forms. So I absolutely love The Lion King. And although I've never seen Phantom of the Opera, it's definitely one that I've been always curious about. I love I love Dear Evan Hansen. That's a bit of a newer one. Love the soundtrack. I also love Wicked. That was the first show I saw on Broadway, so it will always have a very special place in my heart.
Awesome. I did see Wicked when it comes through Kansas City. It's a great musical. I'm very excited and interested to see what Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande do for Elphaba and to Glinda.
Oh my, 100%. That you and me both, Jacob. You and me both.
It's such, and I just hope that they kind of shoehorn Indian and Kristen in it as well.
Oh, I second that. I second that. I concur. I concur. I'm ready for it.
Awesome. Awesome. I love musical theater, and also I've seen Fleetwood Mac 3 different times.
Okay. Now I'm officially envious. I've never seen them live, and that is something that I truly hope to do. Hopefully sometime in the near future, but if I have to wait even a little longer, I can do that. But tell me, how were your experiences seeing them?
I saw them when it was both Lindsay, John, Stevie, and Mick twice, and I saw them with Christine, and all 3 times I was blown away.
I could only imagine. I mean, they're legends. They're legendary icons, and I gotta say, I'm green with envy. If green with envy right now.
Yeah, I think Fleetwood Mac always puts on a great show. So, however, we're not talking about musical theater or Fleetwood Mac in this interview. We got to get back to you, Annabelle.
I could talk about musical theater and Fleetwood Mac all day, and I could definitely go off on tangents. So thank you for reeling me back in.
Awesome. So let's talk about some of the challenges that you faced breaking into the recording industry, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
That's another amazing question. In terms of challenges, I think I really started or launched my sort of independent solo music career during the pandemic, which is definitely a bit more of a struggle not being able to perform live and connect with people in that shared space. But also, I think part of the beauty is that, you know, technology sort of renders the world flat. And so being able to connect with people across the world just through, interfaces like this, like here we're on StreamYard today and I get to talk with you. And so that everything has its pros and cons and challenges and upsides. But I would say that was definitely one of them. And other than that, I sort of just take it one day at a time. And I just try and really stay grounded and anchored to the present moment and just, yeah, take on every moment with just gratitude. And I think the challenges don't seem quite as big when you do that.
I agree completely. I agree completely. So I would love to learn the stories behind some of your songs. So I picked out 4 of them, and let's get to talk.
Let's get to talk.
Alrighty, so let's start off with Skylark. Currently, as of this recording, has over 83,000 streams on Spotify.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Skylark, I have to say it was I don't want to say it's not my favorite song. I don't want to say it is, because as a song mom, I feel the need to be impartial about all my songs. I love them all equally, but if I had to pick from my debut album, I would say Scarlet was definitely it was probably my favorite. And I remember when I wrote it, I wasn't sure about that it would be my favorite. And then I woke up the next morning and it just really resonated. Sort of in every fiber of my being, I believed in that song. And it's so nice to see the way that it's been received by listeners. But yeah, I really wanted to focus, especially sort of in the aftermath of relationships. I think, we all have the tendency to focus on things that didn't necessarily go according to plan, or it's so easy to get sort of caught up in the semantics of it all and on more negative emotions. And I really wanted to just sort of pay homage to the magical moments that are sort of indelible and really the special moments. So that was sort of the story behind Sky. Ah, wow, it's hard to. It's a little bit of a tongue twister today. Skylark. That was the story behind Skylark.
Believe me, I get tongue-tied myself, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yay to being tongue-tied.
All right, so Breathing Underwater, 35,000 streams on Spotify, and I think it's and when you hear Breathing Underwater, I'm like, you just imagine yourself going under like a pool or something, or or a lake, or even the ocean.
100%. That was actually one of the first songs that I wrote, and I've been someone who has struggled with anxiety, and that's really the story about that song. Just sometimes how it can feel a little suffocating and a little debilitating. And so and I really wanted to write about that because I feel like it's an important subject to talk about, and it also helped me better understand how I cope with it and how I deal with it. And so that song was also a really important one to me. And in terms of the sonics and the soundscape and the instruments, I really wanted that one to feel very big and heavy, because I feel sometimes anxiety can feel that way. It can feel very overwhelming. And so I wanted the sound of the song to replicate that feeling. So it really gave listeners almost a tactile experience. And I'm also so touched that it's resonated with people, and hopefully it's able to help people as it helped me.
That's awesome. So Barcelona, 31,500 streams on Spotify.
All these numbers are also just I'm so humbled by them. It's so remarkable. It's just astounding to think of the sheer quantity of people who have heard my music. So I have a very big smile on my face right now. Yeah, Barcelona is sort of getting lost in the whimsy of summer and lost in love, and just having little romantic adventures. And that's sort of what Barcelona is about. And sonically, I also wanted to pay homage to Barcelona, and not in a way that appropriated the culture or the music of that culture in any way, but just again, just sort of honor it. And so hopefully I was able to do that. And it's definitely, hopefully, a more fun song, definitely, than Breathing Underwater.
Absolutely. And speaking of fun, Retrograde, when I first heard that, I gave me vibes to the B-52s.
Oh, Jacob, you saying that means everything, because you know what, I didn't think anyone would necessarily pick up on that, but I definitely, part of the influence for that song sonically was, Rock Lobster, Love Shack, because
Rome.
100%. Especially like in the bridge of the song, I had those really low retro voices. And so I was definitely drawing a lot of influences from the B-52s for sure. So I'm so honored that you recognize that. Thank you.
Not a lot of artists today. I think B-52s are very underrated, and not a lot of artists, and they have incredible songs. You can just ear pieces of candy, and that reminds me of that in Retrograde. There was things of B-52, of Love Shack and Rome, and not to mention Carly Rae Jepsen's Kiss Kiss.
Yes, and I definitely wanted Retrograde to sort of embody that fun spirit and energy that B-52s have in their music, and so I'm thrilled that that came through, and the whole song was really inspired by, well, myself, my friends, my family. I noticed this common feeling that it was at the height of the pandemic amongst my friends, my family, myself, that we were all just sort of feeling a little stagnant in our, respective pursuits and ambitions, and sometimes even this sense of like retrogression, like we were going backward. And I had this very insightful conversation with my mom, and she seems to have this blueprint on life's greatest lesson. She just knows everything, and it always baffles me. And so she said, "Well, we're never really stagnating. We're never moving backwards because we're always learning and we're always growing. So even what might feel like a step backwards is really a step forward." And from there, I conceptualized sort of retrograde, and I thought it would sort of be a meaningful yet fun way to communicate that message to listeners. And I wrote the song really quickly, and then producing it and figuring out, from which sonic palette we were going to pull and from how it would all come together sonically. That took quite quite a long time and a number of different production trial and error and trial again. And I'm thrilled that you enjoyed listening and that you thought it was a lot of fun.
It's a fun song, and I really hope people pick up on it, especially some of the streaming services, because that's a future song of the summer, if I could say, to be honest, because that's a really good song.
Okay, well, if I had, I didn't think my smile could get any bigger, and now I'm beaming here. I'm so humbled. So thank you so much, Jacob. That means the absolute world to me.
You're so welcome, Annabel. So, who are on your dream collaborator list? Like, do you have any singers? Do you have any songwriters? Do you have any musicians and producers? And how would they enhance your sound if you would love to collab? If you had a Rolodex and say, okay, I can call this person, that musician, that songwriter.
Okay. Well, starting with producers and musicians, I have to say I have been thus far in my career just so fortunate to work with the musicians and producers I've worked with, namely for this song and for all my music. I get to work with Dominque Messier. He's my co-producer, and he's a genius, and he's just his career and his expertise is invaluable to me, and I feel so fortunate that I get to work with him. And he's also the drummer on a number of my tracks. He plays for Celine Dion, and I also get to use I also get to play alongside Kevin Girouard. He's my guitarist on all of my tracks essentially, and he also plays for Celine. So I've been so fortunate to work with these esteemed and expert musicians and writers. So it's just been, in that sense, I feel like they're sort of the dream people that I'd want to work with, and I get to work with them. So I am so fortunate for that. And in terms of writers and artists that I'd love to collaborate with, if I could collaborate with anybody, I mean, Stevie Nicks is always up there for me because I love her and I think she's just brilliant. Who else? Okay, I would say Harry Styles for sure. I just think Harry is an incredible writer, incredible artist, performer, and I'm just a big fan. So that would definitely be at the top of my list. I'm trying to think of somebody else. Okay, I want to
I gotta
really.
say, because sorry to interrupt, but I gotta say, you already mentioned two musicians who are connected to Celine Dion. So I gotta say, Celine might be on the list too.
You know what, because my list is, I feel like when I was like, how could I pick? Celine's on the list, 100%. Like, how could I not? She is one of the most one of the most talented people to probably ever walk the face of the planet. So Celine for sure. And the list is just, it's going to get too long, but let's stick with those. Those are the top 3. Let's stick with those for right now.
I gotta say, Harry Styles, and this is for his evolution from X Factor and One Direction to solo artists is just phenomenal to watch.
It's been phenomenal to watch for sure, and I love that sonically he's explored so many different genres and worlds in that sense. He started off for sure as like a pop artist, then it's rock, and now I think it's like pop rock, and he's just, everything he does, he puts his whole heart into, and the results are just astonishingly incredible. So I love that. And another artist who, just I love artists who just aren't afraid to tackle different genres. Even like a Taylor Swift starts in country, moves to country pop to pop and now alternative. I love that. I love that because I feel like, music is something and genres are there to be explored. And so I appreciate the way that those artists do that and execute on that for sure.
I would actually add Miley Cyrus to the list because I was just listening to her live album and oh my god, she went from her songs that she put on there. She put on her Hannah Montana stuff. She put on a little bit of her bangers, R&B, and hip hop, and then her rock that she did with Heart of Glass, and then Edge of Midnight, which she did with Stevie.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And Miley would also be a dream collaborator. I'm like so many and Taylor Swift too. But yes, Miley is such a versatile and just so talented. I mean, just her voice alone, one note can bring you to tears. And I would definitely add Miley Cyrus to that list because she's sort of done it all and just so remarkably well.
Awesome. So, what are some of your favorite social media apps?
Okay, so I can't say that I have this huge affinity for social media. I was like literally social media turtle for the longest time, but I definitely love connecting with people. I would say on Instagram, that would probably be number one. I love that it has reels and then also pictures and the ability to connect with listeners and just friends and fans. And it's a great tool in that sense. I'm getting more used to doing that on TikTok. I have to keep up with the pace of TikTok. It's so fast. But I would say I don't know if this counts as social media. I love Pinterest. I love going through pictures and just drawing inspiration from Pinterest because it's um, such an artistic platform. And then I also love YouTube. I love longer form videos and planning those and executing on those and sharing those. And I think YouTube is an incredible space to do that. So I would say top three. Maybe if Pinterest doesn't count, we'll have to reassess. But I would say top three would be Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest.
Awesome. I gotta say, Pinterest is you are the first artist and guest to actually have said Pinterest.
Yes, you know what? I'm honored to be the first.
Awesome. So we gotta start writing down our conversation. So if you had any advice for someone who is about ready to start their career in the music industry, what advice would you share with them, Annabel?
I would say to follow your passion, follow your heart, follow that which fulfills you and makes you feel very gratified. And nothing can stop you if you do that. It's definitely a challenging field. Any creative field is definitely challenging to sort of break into and get a grasp on. But I think if you're doing the things you love and you're doing it with love, then I think, the sky's the limit. Anything and everything is achievable. And just you keep forging forward and upward and onward.
Strong words. All righty, Annabelle. Last question. Are you ready for it?
I don't know, Jacob. Do you think I'm ready?
I think you are.
So then let's do it.
All right. So where can my audience connect with you on social media, and also where can they find your music?
I hopefully am ready for this question. Anywhere and anywhere you could think of, I should be there. I think I said everywhere and anywhere twice, but everywhere and anywhere you could think of, I'm there. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, you'll find me. My handles at Annabel Gutherz, ANNABELGUTHERZ. And in terms of music, same thing. You could look me up, ANNABELGUTHERZ. I'm on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music. You name it, I'm there.
Awesome. So, guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our pages on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. It's just Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Visit my social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Once again, Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, Anabel, just to remind everyone, I am celebrating 11 years this August of jakes-take.com.
Woo! Wow, what a feat, what an accomplishment. My hat's off to you, Jacob. Big round of applause. That's congratulations.
Thank you so much. So, guys, if you want to read what my take on Annabel's music, and also look up more interviews, read more articles, read some recaps of American Song Contest, America's Got Talent, The Masked Singer, head to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Now, if you are financially able to, please consider heading to PayPal to help keep jakes-take.com up and running. I'm the one-man band. I do everything from arranging interviews to editing the podcast. So it would be great if you're financially able to, but if you're not, I totally understand. A great suggestion is always to subscribe to the podcast and also follow me on social media. Annabel, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. You're the best.
You're so welcome. And guys, thank you so much for taking your time out of your schedule to listen to this podcast. Until the next time, thank you so much for listening and have a great one. Goodbye.